Hey, so this is the February drawing recap. Unfortunately, I didn't do as much compared to last month, um, but I do plan on changing that in the next month, hopefully. So what I've done is mostly some sketches in my sketchbook and some creature drawings, mostly from the live stream. I didn't do really a lot of color paint stuff this month either. Yeah, just a quick one. And oh yeah, and quick announcement. The next few weeks, I'm probably going to be streaming a bit earlier than usual. It's only a temporary thing, but around April or May time, go back to streaming regularly on the Sundays. Anyway, enjoy the video. Okay, so first sketch of February, the first thing I drew was a gondola boat in Biro. And I did it without any preliminary sketches. I also drew the gondola in different angles. In a bit, you just get a close-up of the picture. The photo is from Pexels by a photographer, Sheikh Naeem Hassan. The photo is titled Gondola in a Bay. And below that is a thumbnail of a sketch idea. I'm centering out the notes in case I plan to draw this thumbnail sometime in the future. And then this next sketch is mostly a collage of different other sketches. I didn't really have a plan on what I wanted to draw, so I randomly made a line and it sort of went off from there. Multiple references, but it's mostly from Google Images. I just typed in anything that came into my head and just drew that. And then finally, the last sketch page that I've recorded is just a bunch of poses, specifically sitting down or squatting pose. I was having some trouble in a previous live stream drawing this pose, so I did a few study sketches. Unfortunately, that's all I have for February. In the next month, I'll try to do a bit more sketches in my sketchbook. I should also note that I've missed one page. Mostly because it was an ideation sketch rather than something that I had intended or planned to do. Alright, so this is a drawing recap of the digital live stream pictures I did during February. There's only 3 here right now. I know I did 4. The second one, or maybe the third one, actually no, the second one I didn't bother saving because it came out pretty bad. So yeah, so let's start off with the one that's dated in the 1st of February. This picture that I've now will start using as the live stream thumbnail. How did it start off? Okay, yeah, so the 1st of February, I made a conscious decision to try and do a full body sketch of some kind and then see if I can push it through and make it a rendered piece. So we started off with doing a basic mannequin sketch of a person sitting down. I believe I used 2 references for an update. I believe I used 2 references for this picture, and it's not an exact copy of the reference. Because the original reference had the person sitting with their legs both on the ground, I think. No. It was probably the upper body or something like that. Anyway, I used a mix of Riley's body abstraction and some deviation from Riley's abstraction method, to be honest. So from Riley's abstraction, I made another layer with more fleshed out part of body, and then so after fleshing out the an anatomy, I duplicated the layer again, slightly erased it, and then drew in some lines for the clothing. This character is wearing like a zipped up hoodie, zipped up hoodie, t-shirt underneath, and some shorts and some flip-flops. So after doing that, I duplicated it again, lined it, inked it, and then added some basic tones and value. And then the overlay was just this camcorder thing. The second sketch I didn't bother saving. It was a bit of a mess. I think this is just a bunch of thumbnails of a figure in some sword fighting pose. I think during this week I wasn't really didn't really have a objective on what I wanted to draw, so I've fallen back on drawing Naruto, or at least an idea of Naruto. So I drew some thumbnail of poses, sword fighting poses. The character uses two swords when his Nitro Ryo gauge is full, but these poses are mostly of using one sword. I can't remember what this was about. I think initially I wanted to draw the statue of David, but I don't know. And here we got another pose of a person holding two swords with a bit of foreshortening. I tried my hand at doing a foreshortened pose. And then more thumbnails. Finally, we get to the last drawing I did for the month. Before the stream, I did this little face of no particular person. I tried to make it look scowling looking. And then I drew a mannequin of a standing pose. I was struggling to figure out what kind of pose I wanted to draw, so I decided to go with a standing pose. And then from that, I incrementally made additions to the pose. So I duplicated this pose and then drew in the anatomical landmarks rather than doing the forms, and then duplicated that and to draw clothes on, and then duplicated that to draw the head. This head is basically a character from a video game, not a specific character, but he's a type of he's a race. Vampires the Masquerade Bloodlines, for anyone who's curious. Actually, a bit more context before I get to that last picture. I tried to give him a scowling expression, but I was struggling, so I decided to practice by first drawing the skull. I went onto a 3D model website, loaded a 3D skull of a 3D human skull, and then drew that. And then I went onto Google Images and typed in evil skull to get that scowling expression on top of a skull. And my reason for that is if I could maybe see what the skull looks underneath that type of expression, it might translate over. And what I've picked up was that, technically speaking, the skull didn't really have this furrowed eyebrows or a furrowed brow line. That's basically from the skin, but when you apply it onto a skull, it looks more sinister. And then the cheekbones are more pronounced, but the side of the I guess the eye socket is tapered towards the skull, giving it a bit more serious and evil look. The mandible area region and the zygomatic is a bit more angular as well. Actually, not the mandible, my bad. And then I drew two fangs because it was a vampire character, so let me put in the fangs to remind myself that it's a vampire. Yeah, so that's what I've done. Not a lot on February. We might change next month, who knows.